Palestine. In fact, both of them look like they're black to me, but certainly this sister is unmistakable, and there's an image of Yasser Arafat. So you have Africans all over the world, and that's the other message we're trying to get, that we are a global people, we're not a minority, and you should see yourself as a global person. Next. This takes us to a very important place that I visited in November, and this is from Turkey. And this is from the Anatolian Civilizations Museum in the capital of Ankara, and this looks like it is from Hemmitt. And so you can see the ancient influence. Next. And then you also see the influence of African people in the Ottoman Empire. And one of the things that the Ottoman Turks did is they practiced castration. And they would take boys, many of them were black, and castrate them when they were very young. Cut off their genital organs to some extent or another. Most of them would die, but a small percentage of them lived, and they were used to guard the harems of the Ottoman Turkish sultans. Now you have black eunuchs and you have white eunuchs. Don't worry, I didn't show any of that in the schools. You have black eunuchs and white eunuchs, because I want to come back again. And the black eunuchs achieved a higher status. In fact, the chief of the black eunuchs was considered the fourth most powerful person in the Ottoman Empire. And he was the only person, the chief of the black eunuchs, who had access to the Sultan 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. After their service for the Sultan, they would retire to Egypt, where it was said they lived a golden existence. So let me show you a few images, and these are very rare photographs. And these I got in Istanbul. Next. 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 And here's one with the Sultan. Next. Now you also, and then you have a series of what appear to be black men behind this image. I think this is Suleiman the Magnificent, and you can see what appears to be a whole row of brothers back there. Next. And then you have the women in the harem. Now I know black women, beautiful as they are, black women are beautiful, are they not? Give them a round of applause. Give the sisters a round of applause. We have to work on that too in the schools because of the perception of beauty. There's the clear perception that the lighter you are, the more attractive you are. I mean, that's almost unwritten, but unmistakable. And you can even see the body language of the students. They get fidgety sometimes. And the lighter-skinned students tend to have a more of a smug, self-assured look on their face. And the darker-skinned students seem to have a sense of inferiority for the most part. Like they want to be. And these things become very clear to me when I'm in the classrooms. We have hundreds of years of damage to undo. Hundreds of years of indoctrination to repair. Now, in Turkey, however, in the harems, the African women seem to have generally had a subservient position. For example, this sister who's about to throw down is a dancer in the harem. Next. And then you have images like this of black women as servants. But this sister is beautiful to me, and I really like the color that she has. Next. And then you have images like this. These are all from the Turkish harems in Istanbul. Next. And then you have something else interesting. I went to a part of Turkey called Cappadocia, and this is an area where a lot of Christians went to because they were trying to escape persecution from the Romans or by the Romans. And a lot of them actually lived in these caves. And some of them actually dug entire underground cities, sometimes 500 feet deep in the earth, and lived there when the Romans were trying to get after them. And what I drew from that was, this is a people serious about liberation. And that's what we have to be. We have to be serious about liberation. Why isn't this auditorium full? This is a free event. It's a Saturday afternoon, it ain't snowing. A lot of people don't want to know. And that's the scariest thing of all. You confront that too. It's one thing not to know, but it's another thing not to want to know. And that is an evil that we are also confronted with. Let's go to the next one. And then this was an interesting one. I think it's out of order, though. This is called Mary's house. And the people in Turkey believe that this is where Mary, mother of Jesus, went after the crucifixion of Christ. Supposedly John took her there, and she lived there for the last 8 years of her life. Now, I didn't believe that. I was very skeptical. And I kept telling my tour guide, I don't really want to go there if we can find something else to do. And he would say, okay, I'm going to revise the itinerary. He would give it back to me, and there would be certain things that would be changed, but Mary's house was never one of them. It would always be there. And I kind of said, who's paying for this, me or you? And it would still be on the itinerary. So one morning, after I thought we had resolved the issue, my guide pulls up, and I said, where's this? He says, Mary's house. And I kind of looked at him like, I don't speak Turkish, but I thought we made this clear. He said, oh, you're going to like it, you're going to like it. I said, yeah, yada, yada, yada. And I only had one roll of film left, and I had one more city to visit. And so I said, should I bring my camera? And he said, well, yeah, why not? So I brought the camera, and we went to Mary's house. Now, the door was open, and there was a nun, white nun, young lady, sitting right there. Pilgrims were lined up to get in there, people from all over the world. Even the Pope has gone there. And they really believe that this is Mary's house. But I was skeptical. There was a big sign, once again, no photography. And they were looking at me. And then there was another sign that said, no conversation allowed in Mary's house. So once again, I said, you know, what are we here for? And he said, just come on, let's see it. So we went inside Mary's house. Let's go to the next slide. And I'm looking around, and all at once, on this altar, I saw this black statue. So I talked to my guy, I said, I wonder how old it is. And he says, wait a minute, I'll go ask her. I said, don't do that, don't do that. He said, no, I'm going to ask her. So I said, okay. And actually, I followed him, thinking, well, she might say something that might be interesting. So we walk over to the nun, and she don't even raise up her eyes and look at me. I don't exist. She's talking to the white man, the white Turk. And he says, my employer wants to know how old this statue is. She says, there's no talking in here. He says, but he's a scholar. He says, well, if you want to have a few brief words, we can go outside. So we went outside, and she says she thinks it's about, she still's not looking at me now. Like I'm a pet, and I don't warrant attention. And so she says, it's about 500 years old. It came from Egypt to Ethiopia, I think, and that the color black represents something profound. I was satisfied with that and ready to go. But it seemed like she now wanted to show us how much she knew. So she started talking about the crown and the arms and the clothes and how she was holding the baby. And I said, just to break the monotony, as if this is a segue to saying thank you very much, adios amigo, I said, you know, I've seen a few of these. And she looked at me for the first time. She says, really? I said, yeah. I said, I saw one and two of them in Russia. I saw one in Spain. I just saw one in France. Really? I said, yeah. She says, well, this one came from Egypt to Ethiopia, but it was most recently in France. I said, is that right? I said, where in France? She said, Le Puy. I said, Le Puy? I said, I've been trying to see that Black Madonna for 20 years. She said, really? And so the people started to gather. And I looked around. I was rusty. I hadn't given a lecture in a couple weeks. I figured this was my opportunity. Now here I am, outside of Mary's house, and I'm giving a lecture. And I said, well, you know, Joan of Arc used to pray in front of this Madonna every day. And the Second Crusade was launched from the site of Le Puy. She said, really? And she's getting really excited. And Turks and Greeks and Italians and Spanish and Japanese started to gather around. And I'm just feeling myself now. I'm giving reference, scripture, and verse. And so all at once she got very excited. She ran in Mary's house, got the Madonna, and brought it outside. I couldn't believe it. And I said, can I photograph it? She said, yeah. I said, can I touch it? She said, yeah. So this is the photograph. Let's go to the next one. You can see. And then she put the statue down and ran back inside Mary's house. Now, the first thing I'm thinking was, You know what I was thinking? I'm wondering if this will fit in my knapsack. And would I be able to get to the airport before the Turkish army came after me? But there were too many people around. And so she came back.